Hi, this is Joe again with another review. And today, for this video, I'm going to be discussing the Superman movie series. Excuse me. I know it's a bad way to start a video, but sorry about that. I'm going to be discussing the Superman movie series, and I'm not going to be discussing the two recent films, which are Superman Returns and The Man of Steel, because A, I've not seen those movies, and B, if it does not start Christopher Reeve as Superman, I forget. Because I feel there's only one movie Superman, and that's Christopher Reeve. That's my opinion. When the first Superman film came out back in 1978, and was really, even though there was a Batman movie that came out in 1966, based on the the TV version from 1960s, starring Adam West and Bud Ward. Superman the movie, which came out in 1978, was the first superhero blockbuster film, and it did have the special effects maybe be old by today's standards, but looked great in 1978 and still holds up today. Special effects, well, most of the special effects. The only one that didn't really work for me was today was the sequence with Superman flying with Lois Lane. But the first film, of course, is also I think except for the Man of Steel movie, of Christopher Reeve films, this was like the longest of those films. It was like 2 hours 25 minutes long. So me, I was 7 years old at the time, so it was a pretty long movie for me to sit through. But it's worth seeing at the time. It's still worth seeing today, because Christopher Reeve was like an unknown actor at the time, and he got cast as the lead of Superman. And the funny thing is, if you watch the original Superman film, Christopher Reeve didn't even get top billing. He was like third billed actor in the film. Because Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman got the top billing. They even got a bill before the title of Superman, of course, Gene Hackman played Lex Luthor. Not only in this one, but in Superman 2 and Superman 4. Which will get Superman 4 if I can in this video. And of course, Marlon Brando played Jor-El, Superman's father. Of course, the film starts off, of course, as an origin story, and of course, the first takes like 15-20 minutes of the film took place at Krypton. And of course, it actually starts off as a teaser. The very first scene was actually a teaser piece for the second film, because both Superman 1 and Superman 2 were filmed back to back. And you see the three villains, General Zod, Ursa, and Nun, were going to be in the villains in the second film. Being put on trial by Jor-El, of course, they were found guilty and placed in the Phantom Zone, which is a very impressive special effect for that time. And actually, of course, today we all CGI. And so I was seeing the council, which were all projected on a big screen, all the faces of the Krypton council. It was also pretty impressive, because you see this big ugly faces projected on this black screen. And of course, Jor-El, of course, naturally was to try to persuade people to leave Krypton because it's going to explode within 30 days. Of course, nobody believes him. And that's when, of course, he sends his son Kal-El, which of course turns out to be Superman later on, to Earth. You see the whole sequence when he travels from Krypton to Earth, and you do see Krypton being blown up, which was also a pretty impressive effect for the time. And of course, Glenn Ford plays Jonathan Kent with his wife, Martha Kent, finds, of course, the baby in the crash in the valley here. And of course, you do see nudity. You do see the baby Superman naked, full vulnerability for 1978. When it's rare to see nudity, especially for a little boy. At any time when you see it in this film, in the opening shot. And of course, he gets raised as a teenager. When Jonathan Kent dies, that's when he gets to go to Krypton, and you see the whole sequence when he's there in the Fortress of Solitude. And there's also a twist of how that was formed. But of course, before them, there was a scene that was cut out that I have on video. I think that's about every time I see this movie on television or wherever, the scene is cut out. The scene was where, I should have mentioned this in my cut scenes video. There was this particular scene where when Clark Kent was a teenager, he's running faster than the train. And he jumps ahead of the train and on home. And there's a little girl on the train pointing to his mother, "Hey, there's a guy running faster than the train." The little girl had to be Lois Lane. And his mother says, "Lois Lane, stop telling stories." He's got a big laugh in the movie theater, but every time I see it since, the scene that whenever the whole scene itself wasn't cut out, but that particular few seconds line was cut. And I actually say Lex Luthor, when you see Lex Luthor, he tries to blow up California so he can make billions of dollars in the real estate fraud scheme. That's the plot that he did in the end of the film. Of course, after he gets stopped, and of course, Superman sees millions of people in California. But before that, a little piece of trivia for those of you who've never been to New York City, where the Daily Planet scenes were filmed. We're seeing Perry White's office and all that, and not only in the first film, but in the second film as well. It was filmed in the Daily News Building, which at that time was called the Daily News Building, which is located on 2nd Avenue and 42nd Street in New York City. That building also housed WPIX Channel 11. And of course, now that building is mostly being used by Channel 11, for the local news and so forth. Today, by that time, it was also shared with the Daily News where the reporters were, and the big globe. When you see after Superman or Clark Kent finished his first day of work, was walking out with Lois Lane, and the big globe that actually existed, and still exists today in the main lobby of the building. But like I said, like the first film was such a success that 2 years, like I said, the two films were filmed back to back. It was directed by Richard Donner, and he directed about 80% of the sequel, of the second film. But the problem is that the producers did not like, for some reason, Richard Donner, kicked him out, and brought in a new director, Richard Lester, who reshot a lot of the stuff that Richard Donner did, so that Richard Lester could get credit for the film. So they had a little bit more comedy in it, a little more stupid sight gags. But the one thing they didn't like about Superman 2 was that you had the Niagara Falls sequence, which I liked, because it was at the same time that the movie came out, or like a year later. I think it was either the same year the movie came out, or like a year later. I was at Niagara Falls for vacation, and I stood in the same areas, not all the areas, but some areas where Lois and Clark stood. Looking at Niagara Falls, you see the Man in the Mist boat, which I was on. Plus, where the rappers were, I actually was over there when I was a kid. I actually have a picture of myself sitting in the little boat where Lois was leaning over, saying, "Where you going, Superman?" But like I said, I thought that Superman 2 was, other than the original film, the best one in the series. Because you had the three villains, like I mentioned earlier. They escaped in the opening sequence of Superman 2. They escaped from the Phantom Zone. I'm not going to say how. I'm not going to ruin it for you. They escape from the Phantom Zone, and they go to, they eventually make their way to Earth. And that's when eventually they build up attached with these villains with Superman Of course, also Superman fell in love with Lois Lane, and of course they did have a love scene, which they didn't actually physically show the sex scene. They showed, I don't know if it's in the Richard Donner version, I don't know, but they showed like, you know, the moment after, or the moments after the love scene, when the two of them, when Clark and Lois were lying in bed, and of course Clark gave up his powers to be with Lois. Then of course he found out this whole thing was odd, so he went back and got his powers back. And eventually, because of the going back to the Richard Donner thing, Richard Donner was kicked out. Marlon Brando, I should say, was supposed to also be in the second film. He did not allow, or his family did not allow, for his footage to be in the sequel. So Superman's mother, Kara, was used in the sequel. But originally it was supposed to be, Jor-El, or Marlon Brando. But then the Richard Donner version came on DVD like about 10 years ago or something. I don't have it, so I can't really say how much better it is than the Richard Lester version. I really can't say. But the Richard Donner version of Superman 2 does feature Marlon Brando in it. I think you do see some clips of it on YouTube. I know I found clips of Marlon Brando in it. But of course, I don't want to ruin any of these movies in case those of you who never seen the original series. But Superman 2 does kind of end like a little bit disappointing, especially after the huge fight they had in Metropolis. But as a film, I thought it was a great follow-up to the first film. Great follow-up. I loved the second movie. I thought it was great. It held my interest, even though I was 9 or 10 years old at the time that Superman 2 came out. But I loved the second movie. I thought it was terrific. I still watch it today and still enjoy it today. I mean, that's how great the second one is. The third one, however, this came out in 1983, and of course, eventually the fourth one, are the two worst superhero movies I've ever seen. And those two movies, I feel, killed the Superman franchise in terms of the movies. And then take it to about like 2005, I think it was, when they had the Superman Returns came out. Superman 3, of course, was almost the same cat, and of course, was a stake with Margaret Keller, who played Lois Lane in the films. She also didn't like the way that Richard Donner was treated, and they wore her out. She was in the beginning of the film and in the end of the film, but the majority of her, she was not in it. But the one add-on they did was Richard Pryor. As soon as I heard Richard Pryor was going to be in this movie, I knew it was going to be awful. With all due respect to Richard Pryor, I knew, or fans of Richard Pryor, I knew he was going to ruin this movie. Because of the fact that he's a comedian. He's not a straight guy. When I mean by straight guy, I don't mean sexually. I mean, of course, playing a straight part without being over the top or anything else. And he was made Superman 3 more like a comedy, which I didn't like. I didn't like it's one thing to do it in a cartoon, to make a funny episode in a cartoon series, but for a movie series, especially after how great the second movie was, and to make a whole complete change of pace, ruined the movie series, at least for me. But the one thing they did like about Superman 3 was Annette O'Toole, who was the daughter of the great actor Peter O'Toole, played Clark Kent's old love interest, Nana Lang. And that part of the movie I actually liked. There was one thing I liked about this movie was Superman or Clark going back home to Smallville for a class reunion and meeting his old love, Nana Lang, and they rekindled the love for each other. That part of the storyline I liked. That's the only part of Superman 3 I actually liked. Plus the other thing where Richard Pryor tried to kill Superman with fake kryptonite. Superman turned bad. And so that part was kind of silly and funny, especially with the Eiffel Tower routine. But in terms of the rest of the film, I thought it was terrible. The only thing I liked was the fight between Clark and Superman in the junkyard. This also was a great sequence. Other than that, the movie itself was just a waste of time. The thing that was even a bigger waste of time was the fourth movie, which came out was titled Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. And unfortunately, it was the last time that Christopher Reeve replaced Superman, because of course a few years later he had his, like 10 years later or so, he had his accident. And of course he died a few years ago. And it's a shame that he had to go out in such a god-awful movie. What the movie was, the basic plot was that he's trying to destroy all the nuclear weapons. And Lex Luthor came back. Gene Hackman came back to play in this movie, and he created a new villain to fight Superman, and that was a guy called Nuclear Man, which was the stupidest and most ridiculous villain you ever see in Superman. And thankfully, he was never in any other format in the Superman universe, not in the cartoon. I don't know if he was ever in the comic books, but he was never in any of the cartoon series. At the time, either the one in 1988 for the 50th anniversary of Superman, CBS made a cartoon series in 1988, or the Superman series was aired on that time the WB network. And they never used his character ever again, thank God, because it was like the worst superhero villain ever. And the movie, thankfully, only lasted an hour and a half. Let me tell you how bad this movie was. It didn't even last 2 months in the movie theater. After about a month, the movie was pulled from the movie theaters. In the local movie theaters here in New York City, it was pulled. Excuse me. That's how bad this Superman 4 was. And of course, they didn't make another Superman film. So Superman Returns, which, like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, I haven't seen. Or the Man of Steel. I had a chance to see it last night, Man of Steel, but I decided to watch the New York Rangers hockey game last night when they, Game 6 of their series when they advanced to the Stanley Cup. That's when I'm filming this, the day after the Rangers won the Eastern Conference Championship. So I'd rather watch that than the Superman, than the Man of Steel movie. They didn't get such big reviews, and the one thing they didn't like about Man of Steel, which I found out, was that they hired a black actor to play Perry White. I know I don't want to sound like I'm racist or anything, but I just want to get this right. When they make a superhero movie, I don't mind if they tweak the storyline here and there, like they did with the Spider-Man series, where they, instead of being a radioactive spider, it was a genetically engineered spider, so they updated that part. And also they put in the storyline where Spider-Man shoot webs naturally out of his wrists, and not using a web shooter. Like, since day one of the Spider-Man series. Like day one for the comic books and the various cartoons, he made used web shooters, not out of his wrist. Those changes I didn't really quite mind. But when they hire black actors or a woman to play a part that was usually either a guy originally or a white person, that's just wrong. On so many levels. I'm not saying that these people are not right for the parts or anything else like that. It's just that you should be as accurate as possible to the original format as possible. That's what they did with the Daredevil movie as well. And it came out in 2003 with Ben Affleck, Jonathan Corner, but they hired Michael Clark Duncan, who was a big black guy, to play the Kingpin. I was so hated that. I hate when they do that. And of course, all these reboots of television shows, they hire, like in Hawaii Five-O, for example, they hire a woman to play what was originally, in the original Hawaii Five-O series, was a guy. The same thing with the Battlestar Galactica reboot series with a sci-fi channel. Same thing. But actually get on a tangent here, so that's why I didn't really go out and see Man of Steel. That's because of that reason. They hired a black actor who played a white part. Which, you know, if the part was originally written for a black actor, I can understand hiring a black person or hiring a woman for the part was originally written that way. But if it's not, keep it that way. That's why I didn't like him. That's why I didn't want out to see Man of Steel. I still haven't seen it yet because of that. They hired a black person to play a white character. It was traditionally, since 1938, Perry White had been white, not black. Including the cartoon all the various cartoon series from the original cartoons from the 1930s and 40s, and so on and so forth. It's been a white character. So that's my review of the Superman movie series. Please rate the video, please comment on, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video to your Facebook pages. Thanks for watching.